Welcome back. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Tim. This is Egg Chasers, and I'm joined to discuss England's current expanded Rugby World Cup training squad by Rich, the rugby analyst. How you doing, Rich?
Very good indeed. Yeah, it's like having a bit of a saga, isn't it, with England? They're
Yeah.
gradually dripping it out,
They're,
not through choice, but it's certainly dragging it out a bit.
they're making it more complex than any other nation seems to be. That's for sure. This is a part of a bigger discussion Rich and I will be having, and we've got some other topics we're going to be covering off on Rich's channel. So go over to Rugby Analyst, hit subscribe there, and watch our take on. It relates to this England squad and what players might be available to England beyond the World Cup, Wales as well with the international eligibility, and there's a bit of an innovation technologically which Rich has spotted that I'm quite excited to talk about as well. So go over to Rich's channel, hit subscribe there. But here, Rich, you've already touched on it. It's a convoluted way of arriving at a 33-man World Cup squad, isn't it?
It is, but I tell you what it does do. It does give a great excuse or, an opportunity to Bortwick to look at a lot more players than he would probably have done. And considering he's only just got in the job, that it could actually be a good thing for him.
I think that's a fair point. It's also pretty brutal because whilst some players have been coming in, there's others that have had their couple of weeks and been sent packing.
Well, yeah, I wondered if they keep everyone in, or some commenters were saying maybe they'll just keep everyone in, but they have already booted out a few.
Ollie Hassel-Collins being one of them. Who, I mean, you can go back and look at some of our first videos collaborating together during the Six Nations, Rich, and or before the Six Nations even. I was absolutely raving about OHC, and he's been absolute dynamite in the Premiership. Got injured in the Six Nations, and he's just this happens. We thought it was an Eddie Jones thing, didn't we? Where players would come in, be really highly fancied, get a start, and then get bombed and be out. But
yeah,
it's
you'd
happening
love
under
to
the
know the
Bortwick reign
reason
too.
Yeah, you'd love to know the reason. There may well be a good reason, you just don't know. But I mean, England, what they do have is they have a lot of players. Maybe haven't got a lot of proven players, but they're going to have to cut a lot of players. So, but those three, Spencer, Randall, and Hassel-Collins, are the first casualties. And it just looks, if you're cut at this stage, that's probably your World Cup over. Would you say?
Ben Spencer is someone that you mentioned as a bit of a dark horse, and could he be really valuable to England? And a lot of people have been having that similar sentiment. So yeah, that scrum half position, Ben Youngs has come in along with Jack Van Portfleet, and that you kind of, I don't know, seeing Ben Young's name come in and seeing Ben Spencer and Harry Randall go, it's not surprising, but it just did you think a little bit? Does it feel like, oh, okay?
Well, I mean, I think we all knew that Van Portfleet and Youngs were going to come in. It's just who was going to go out, and you probably can't carry 6 scrum halves, can you, and do effective training. Kerr was the one I thought might drop out again, but it looks like now he's got 2 experienced scrum halves and 2 inexperienced scrum halves, which I guess makes some sense.
I'm just before we'll talk generally, but just touching on a couple of individuals. One that I've already named. Thinking of the players that have been cold at this point. Ollie Hassel-Collins out. Joe Thokonasinga's name is still in that squad.
Yeah,
I find that a bit surprising.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of my commenters again have been saying, look, he is properly useful, and he is. He's the England don't have a player like him. Hassel-Collins is big, but Thokonasinga is huge, and it's very useful. Having a huge winger can be really useful, and he's the only one they've got. And my big issue, one of my issues with him was, is he going to stay fit? And he's done a full season, looked great. He's not going to be the most agile on the turn. He's not the most skillful, but you could see him rolling out in a pool stage and doing some serious damage. But I don't know if he'll make the final cut, but I do see some logic there.
Yeah, I guess I can see the logic. I think I was quite inspired looking at that French team and the French squad that was announced yesterday, was it? And the 42-man squad, and you look at their back three, and they're all ballers.
Yeah,
they're all rapid, skillful, and intelligent rugby players. And I don't know if, and look around at the way the game is trending. I wonder if big wingers are as impactful as they were. I can't think of another. Can you think of another like giant winger in a top team?
Nandolo, maybe.
But he wouldn't make the New
No.
Zealand or the French team or
Well, I
Australia.
tell you who, yeah, but I tell you who has made the New Zealand team. It's Fainganuku, he's an absolute bulldozer, and he's
That's
quick.
a fair shout.
You know,
That's a fair shout. And I was just thinking of the Corabetti on the wing for Australia is a big unit. So yeah, okay, all right. There are some around, and the Pacific Island nations. Don't you worry, they're going to come stacked with massive men. But it's an interesting one. In the comments, what do you think? Are the days of a big winger gone? And is it all about are different skill sets now being sought after in the back three?
Well, I mean, there definitely was a phase, wasn't there? There was a phase where coaches went loopy for a big winger, and they'd be sticking flankers on the wing for fun, wouldn't they? So it's kind of got a bit more sensible now.
We were both playing when in that era, Rich. It was the 90s, the Lomu era, wasn't it? I can remember. I played for Newbury.
Bergamasco on the wing.
Yeah, I remember playing for Newbury, and our number 8 got converted to a winger just over the summer just because of Jonah Lomu. And I can see, yeah, okay, fine. It's a different texture, but I'm not sure he'll make the final cut. In the forwards, it's interesting that we saw Sam Simmonds rule himself out and say, right, I'm gonna go to Montpellier and have a full pre-season. And simultaneously, Steve Bortwick has been really pumping up the tires of Zach Mercer in the press.
Yeah. I wonder if there was a conversation before that Simmonds announcement. You don't know, do you? But yeah, no, we wanted Mercer in, didn't we? To be fair, Tim, I think most of the players we had wanted in are in at the moment, aren't they? We've got Rapava Ruskin, Abano, Pearson, Mercer, George Martin. Those were all guys we were saying we seriously would like in and around this squad anyway. There's still lots of players to come in, but they're there, aren't they? I think you've got to give credit to Borthwick. He is looking at the talent.
Oh, there's no question. And you just touched on it there. So when is it, because you're the font of all knowledge, when is it the Saracens and Sale players will be integrated back into this?
I'm pretty sure, please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it's not this Monday, it's next Monday. But I think we may well get another squad this Monday with maybe some more trims. Or maybe some, there's some players rehabbing as well, fitness, which might slot back in as well. So I think there'll be a squad announcement possibly with maybe a change or two, and then the biggie the week after with everyone in.
Okay.
That's what I think.
With that in mind, which players, because it might give us an idea about which players do you expect to be in a week on Monday when the Saracens and Sale players become available?
All right. Made me scroll here. Okay, let's have a think. I haven't actually written them all down. So loose head, I guess Mako, you'd probably expect to come in.
Yeah.
Because
Marrow, obviously.
He was there in the Six Nations. Jamie George, Marrow, maybe Theo Dan.
Yeah, I like Theo Dan a lot.
Because I'm not sure any of the three hookers here at the moment strike me as they're definitely going to make it all the way through.
Blamire, Tom Dunn, and who's the third one?
Jack Walker,
that's it.
But Cowan Dickey's rehabbing with the squad, so he'll come back in. So I think we could see a complete change of hookers.
I think you're right there.
Atoje, definitely. Billy's rehabbing with the squad as well. So and Ben Earl. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Will Ben Earl come in? And if he does come in, which he probably will, someone's surely going to have to drop out, or two.
Yes, and that is where it starts. Yeah, that's is where it starts to get
Pearson's under threat, Underhill's under threat. If Mercer's coming in as a 7, those two are going to be. Well, and Curry's obviously coming in as well, so you could see Pearson and Underhill both go.
Any other Sale forwards? I'm just thinking that tight head prop position. Nick Shonnett, if he'd stayed fit, I think could have been in with a shout. But,
Bevan Rod could come in.
Bevan Rod could come in as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is
So that,
because I actually what's interesting, the 4 loose heads there at the moment, Tim, I wouldn't mind if they stayed like that. Well, obviously they're trimmed to 3, but I wouldn't mind if the choice was between those 4, really. I like it.
Genge,
It's the strongest lineup of loose heads I think we've had since Eddie Jones.
I totally agree with you. Rapava, Ruskin, Abano, Genge, and Marla. I like that. I like that a lot. So
Yeah, I really do.
behind the scrum is where I think we'll see more players leaving and coming in. I would suspect with Farrell, with Quirk possibly. Do you think Quirk is going to come in, or have we got?
Well, I think Bortwick definitely rates him, but the scrum halves are pretty stacked up, aren't they? So maybe not.
Quirk for Care. I mean, I would go Quirk for Youngs, but just trying to read ahead.
Yeah,
Maybe
Quirk
that'll be the move.
Maybe Lazowski. That could be an interesting one.
That's a really interesting call. That
someone.
I mean, I'm guilty of it as much as anyone, but he does get overlooked.
He does. I think because and I do that as well, because he got discarded quite early in his career. It's easy to forget that he's actually still probably playing as well as most of these other guys. I mean, you've got Will Joseph, who's a youngster, Guy Porter, who's okay, Fraser Dingwall. I could definitely see Lazowski coming in for some of those.
Manu will come back in that position. I expect Ford, Farrell, Tuolangi, Malins, Daly. So some players are going to be leaving the squad. Finn Smith, for example.
Yeah, there's going to be some.
Johnny May.
Well, yeah, I think Finn Smith is fair enough. Johnny May.
I would
I'm
suggest
surprised
leaving
he
the squad
stayed
then.
in.
Yeah, I'd suggest leaving the squad. Joe Thocken-Singer, Will Joseph, Johnny May, Finn Smith.
Maybe Tommy Freeman.
Maybe Tommy Freeman, maybe Guy Porter.
Yeah, there'll be a few, definitely. I mean, I do hope Caden Murley stays in. I really do. I like him a lot. He's really strong as well. You can use him in many different ways. He's not just a Adam Radwan, stick him on the wing sort of thing. He can work in and around, do all sorts.
I agree with you there. I think, did you do a video? I thought it was a really good point you made. And I think I'm just looking at that list. And again, the French 42 is fresh in my mind. And the Irish one for that matter, and New Zealand. But England we don't have much elite talent. Like the top tier. We've got a lot of good, solid jobbing players, but not much stardust, not much X factor.
Well, this comes to one of my points here with England is a lot of this squad relies on hope. Because you could easily have a situation where Rapava, Ruskin and Abano are amazing. George Martin takes the world by storm, interchange with Laws. Mitchell starts and he's great. Arundel scores some great tries. So, in a kind of like my dreamland sort of thing, there could be some world class emerging, but it's hope. There's no evidence to say they are yet, but
yeah,
I think that there is. It's the hope that kills you, but it's still there.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with where I am in the sense of my expectations are lower going into this tournament than they've ever been.
I don't know. I've had some pretty low expectations in kind of 07 and some of those ones, I think.
The one person I haven't mentioned that has been a bright spot for England this year is Ollie Lawrence. He's got a knee injury, which is, I think, it's around about 5 or 6 weeks.
Doesn't sound good.
Which is going to make
I mean, that's just yeah.
What do you know about that?
Well, I don't know, but just like, whenever you hear 5-6 weeks for a knee injury, it's a pretty nasty-ish ligament strain, isn't it? Not disastrous, but nasty-ish strain. It's not good. It's not the one you want.
Yeah, and I think that's going to make it tough. That's going to make him hard to call.
Yeah.
But pick for the World Cup. I mean, you kind of have to pick him. It's a 7-week stretch, but England is straight up against Argentina first game, and if he's not fit,
picked,
got a hole there,
and they haven't picked Dan Kelly.
I was just thinking Dan Kelly exactly just popped in my head.
Strange.
Yes. Dan Kelly not been picked. We were both hoping for him. Again, someone whose injury has sort of scuppered any opportunity he had. George McGuigan's the other name that hasn't been picked that will probably feel like it's just, well, it's never going to happen for him.
He'd only just come back from injury, hadn't he? He needed to make his move in the Six Nations, and he just got injured at the wrong time.
Yeah. But I also think in the centre that I do think Fraser Dingwall is someone I'm guilty of underrating. He's been really, really good.
I don't underrate him. What I said in my last video is he is possibly one of the best centres I've ever seen in almost every aspect, if only he was a bit bigger and a bit quicker. And he's fairly big and he's fairly quick, but if he was bigger and quicker, he would be one of the best centres in the world. He honestly, coaches love him. He'll be a captain, defensive leader. He can do everything, but he'll do a good job. But does he have that X factor?
Yeah.
So I do rate him. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Out of 10, Rich, satisfied, happy? Where are you at the minute with England and how it's shaping up?
As far as it could be, I'm probably about 9, to be honest, because he's made most of the calls that we wanted. I'm going to start getting a bit fearful. We're going to get a bit ordinary if they start cutting Rapava, Ruskin, Abano, Pearson, those sorts of players. Then I'm going to start going, oh, this is going to be a bit of a struggle. But, we'll see. Like I said, I have hope. Maybe I shouldn't.
I'm exactly with you. I think fortune favours the brave, and players who have that ability to do something a little bit different, a little bit exciting, a little bit more explosive, unpredictable. If those players start being culled and known quantities that aren't at the elite level and are solid, competent players, if that happens, my balloon will start deflating. As it is, I'm fairly happy with where things are at, but I'm the next couple of
like you said earlier, Tim.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, England have the advantage of being underdogs. No one really expects much from them. They could really start getting it together at some point. But, there's no evidence to say they will, but they could.
How far are we away from England's first game? The 9th of September, July, August, it's like 10 weeks. 10 weeks and it's showtime, mate. It's it's very real.
Plenty of warm-ups, but very real. Absolutely.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's continue our chat on your channel, Rich. We are going to get stuck into following on from this. There's a lot of players that England you think will be involved in this tournament. What are they going to be available come December or Six Nations 2024? Henry Arundel, if he goes to Racing. Jack Willis staying in Toulouse. What is going to happen and what should happen? That's our conversation, or one of the bits of the conversation we're going to have over on Rich's channel. Hit subscribe if you haven't already here, and then head over to Rugby Analyst, hit subscribe, and get stuck into the comments. Nice one. Thank you, Rich.